Hey guys, David here. So, the theme for this past week has been like just pure video games. I did the reviews for the latest Walking Dead episodes from Telltale, which are actually pretty damn great. Please check out my reviews if you guys want to know my opinions on those. And I got a holiday themed video game playthrough that I intend to post this weekend, but before we get to that, we have to get through something that was released that was very much video game related this week. And having played the games, being a gamer myself, I feel like I was obligated to go see this. And see this I did. Here's my review for the movie adaptation, if we can call it that, of Assassin's Creed. So Ubisoft is trying to branch out into movie making, and their first outing is Assassin's Creed. After this, prepare yourselves, they're doing The Division, with Jake Gyllenhaal, I believe. If this is anything to go by, it feels like maybe they're just gonna slap names up on the screen and be like, it's that game that you played! Only instead you actually end up with a generic story, because here we have Caleb Lynch, played by Michael Fassbender, who's this prisoner, who then gets unwillfully recruited into the Abstergo program, where they try to find this thing called the Apple of Eden. But in order to do that, you need to get these other people who come from this long line of ancestors called assassins, and it is only them who know exactly where that Apple of Eden is hidden amongst the world, and they want to use this apple to... Anyway, you know what, I'm just gonna move on from the plot. I know, because the plot already sounds ridiculous, but it's a plot that's very ripe for a video game because it's very out there, while at the same time it could stretch upon franchises. Doesn't necessarily translate to a movie, because me, having played almost every Assassin's Creed so far, I only got two left, Unity and Syndicate. Those are the only two I got left to play. They're up in my shelf. So since I consider to have a very founded knowledge of this universe that Ubisoft created with the Assassin's Creed franchise in the video game form, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go in here. I'm hoping to at least grab onto something that's going to make me have fun with this, because they're going to be winks and nods at things from the video game, and the movie almost exactly opens like that. You get Aguilar, who is Michael Fassbender's character's Caleb Lynch's ancestor back during the Spanish Inquisition, and he's being indoctrinated into the Assassin Order. And you even see a little thing from the games, and hopefully this is not a little... It's a mild spoiler, but it's not that big of a deal. But one of the things that assassins need to go through is to get their finger, mainly this one right here, not the middle one, but the one of the middle fingers, cut off, because apparently there's a specific way that the Hidden Blade Gauntlet works. It opens up with this little detail that I cut onto, and I'm like, that's pretty interesting. But one thing that you need to make sure when you're adapting something into a movie, whether it be a video game, a book, a recipe, cookbook, whatever the fuck, you need to make sure that people who go into this movie have not played the games or read the books or whatever, still manage to go along with the writing and still follow the movie's narrative straightforward like a normal movie. And then as soon as the scene ends, we get these electric guitars just strumming, and that's where I'm like, haha. Ah, fuck. They could have removed the Assassin's Creed name out of this movie, and it just would have played out as just a very basic sci-fi type of film, where you got this one character gets forced by this organization or this group of people to do something that he doesn't want to, and then later on he's gonna band with these other people, and you can kind of already see where the story's going from there. Only along the way they take little details from the game series, but some of those details were kind of cool to kind of see, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. They brought in the Apple of Eden, they did the thing with the finger. They mentioned certain things that are very reminiscent of the video games, but that's me, who has played the game. Later on, they never call attention to that missing finger. People who have not played the game are not gonna know what the fuck that was about. I only did. And people are going to be lost, and that's where you fail as a movie, because as a movie, you need to worry about that story. You don't need to be worrying about servicing the fans. And they don't even do that very well, because not only do they mistakenly misuse the word creed. The Assassin's Creed is the belief of nothing is true, everything's permitted, which is mentioned in this movie, and that's one of the moments that I smiled at. But then they kept referring the creed to the actual organization of assassins, and no, they're just assassins. You don't call them creed. That's their belief. They are the Brotherhood. How can you mess that up? How can you mess up the definition of a word? But on top of that, there's a number of other things that just don't translate well. There's an action sequence where one of the female assassins is traveling through these like ropes, and in the video game that's cool because you're playing as a character and you feel like a badass. Here you see it from a third person perspective. You see it outside of that immersion of being able to play the game, and you're just like, it looks silly as fuck. I knew ahead of time that this was going to be the minority of the movie. The producer said this was going to be a 35% to 65% present day ratio. And that was already a red flag right there. But I was willing to give them a chance if they were going to structure some interesting things within the present day. Not only is the present day kind of mundane, not only because of how bleak everything is, how blue everything is, but also the actual actors that we got. I mean, Michael Fassbender. I like him. I really like him as an actor. He's one of my favorite actors. He's on my list of actors to work with in my directing future. And in this movie, he's trying really hard. There's certain scenes where he's pouring his heart into it, and I'm giving you some kudos, man, but everybody else is just not supporting you because Jeremy Irons and Marion Cotillard are just taking this shit way too seriously. Way too seriously. Jeremy Irons is being Jeremy Irons. He's been in some bad shit before. In fact, I prefer him in some other bad shit like Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, that was great. That was laughably bad, but I can actually enjoy that performance as bad as it is. Here, he's just very bland, he's like, I'm not doing that shit again. Just call me when Justice League starts filming. And Marion Cotillard takes her role in Inception, where she's like the crazy train lady, and amps it up to 11, where every line is delivered like this. I'm going to rock you to sleep now. Rock-a-bye, baby. In the treetop. For me personally, the funnest thing about the present day sequences were two things, and one was really disappointing because it was Michael K. Williams who has a supporting role in this movie. And when he got introduced, he was genuinely funny and very charismatic, only for the movie to completely push him to the side, have him be gone for like almost half an hour, and then have him be back towards the climax, which the ending itself of this movie is just drawn out. It's like 3 endings in one, and I'm like, guys, just pick one. But the other thing that I was laughing at is that there's this henchman who's supposed to be like a heavy duty type of character, who's this enforcer type, and the entire movie he's watching it the same way that I was watching the movie. So just like in the video games, the present day stuff is probably the least favorable. Okay, we were expecting that. How does the ancestral parts play out? Well, in this movie, it's mostly okay, because there's some moments of really good cinematography, and I will admit that there were a couple of moments where our 2 main assassins that we're following on this quest are very badass and very cool to see them do their action assassin stuff, even though it's not very assassin-y to go around and be making like the loudest noise, because that's the one thing that the game is often trying to enforce on you, is this sense of stealth, and they never do that in this movie. They're like, they're stealing these carriages and killing dudes right in plain sight. I'm like, no. But between those 2 assassins that we were following, the one that I found the most interesting was actually not Aguilar. It was his female partner there that we kind of see glimpses of in the trailer, where she does that badass stuff and she stabs those 2 dudes at the same time. I actually wanted to know more about her. Why couldn't the focus be on her? It really reminded me of the first Assassin's Creed game, where I just did not give a flying shit about Altair because he was just so bland and boring. He was just a very routine, brooding main character that I was playing as, and the redeeming quality was that I was doing these assassin feats of doing the leap of faith and killing dudes without being noticed. Even when we're in these Animus segments in the past, the movie would often keep cutting back to the present day to show like, oh look, this is how Caleb is moving about and maneuvering himself in the Animus, this portal thing that's coming out of his back thing and whatever, and we see the people controlling the monitors, and we see Crazy Train Lady once again looking at him, and I'm like, why? Okay, fine, the first couple of times it was neat, second or third, fourth, fifth, 10th time, I swear to God, every time we jumped into the Animus, they kept cutting back to present day to show that, breaking the immersion, breaking the choreography of the fight sequences, which from the beginning wasn't even that great, because the action is okay here and there, but what really breaks it and kind of makes it fall apart a little bit is because some of the choreography is not even that great. The director doesn't handle action sequences very well, because there's some slow choreography, not only in the past but also in the present, where certain dudes are being punched. Like, it looked like rehearsal. It didn't look like legitimate fight sequences. It looked rehearsed. It looked planned out. There's even some fight sequences where dudes aren't even grunting anymore. They're just like, oh. Oh, guys. This is why I sometimes get scared of reviewing a movie, because the more I take it apart, the more I decompose it, the more I think about it, the more I can either love a movie or even hate it. I walked out of this movie thinking it was okay. I'm like, okay, I'm going to give it a 6 or whatever. It was whatever's, it's out of my mind, whatever. But the more I keep bringing back these things, that they could have easily rectified, which I've seen in the games be done before because they were cranking those motherfuckers out every year or whatever. So there were typos, there were glitches. Speaking of glitches, there was one moment where a dude is supposed to be speaking nothing but Spanish in the 15th century, and then out of nowhere he says, "Go!" I'm like, what the wait, what was that? Yeah, there's no getting around to it. This is a bad movie. I give Assassin's Creed 2016, the movie, a 5 out of 10. It's mediocre. It's not the worst piece of shit that I've ever seen. I can think of worse, much more annoying movies. More annoying and regrettable decisions to have spent $7 on. But I felt like I needed to perform my duty as a gamer and as a movie reviewer to go see this and tell you guys what I thought. And now that I've done so, please let me know in the comments what you guys thought of the Assassin's Creed movie if you have seen it. Which I'm not necessarily blaming you guys if you didn't, after hearing the word of mouth, and especially now after watching my review. Instead, go out and get the Ezio collection for the PS4, Xbox One, and you'll have way more fun doing and playing those 3 games. Just avoid that really creepy, weird face dude that they put in the game. I don't know why they fucking did that. Ubisoft, you need to get your shit together, and I'm hoping that that's what you're doing right now behind closed doors while you're working on the next Assassin's Creed game. You guys took a year to bring us this. Please tell me that it was worth it. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Let me know in the comments your feedback. Like and share this video. Follow me on Twitter as well as on Instagram at DarkSpiderDavid. And of course, subscribe. It would really mean a lot to me. Take care, guys, and I wish you guys a Merry Christmas. See you later.